Greetings everyone. Today's video is going to be not exactly Catholic but related to people's beliefs. I thought it would be interesting to just go through the beliefs of a few well-known people and what they responded to the question, is there a God? But before I get into that, I just want to let you know that I'm going to make an announcement at the end of this video, so please do stick around for that. The announcement is going to be good for about a week and a half. So basically, if you're watching this video a few weeks after it was put up, or a few months or a few years, then the announcement no longer applies. But if you are watching it just on the day that it's gone up or a few days after, then please do check that out because it could apply to you. Now, on to the topic of today's video. I found a couple of articles, and they are not brand new articles. They are from about 20 years ago. And it's basically a website called the AV Club. And what they did was, I think they stood somewhere, maybe it was a red carpet event, I'm not sure, but they stood somewhere where there were a lot of celebrities going through. And they would just pull some celebrities to the side and they would ask them the simple question. It was the same question for everyone they asked, is there a God? And then the celebrities would give a response. And I'm going to just go through a few of the responses that I thought were quite interesting. You can actually find the two articles. I'll put them in the description below the video if you want to read the whole thing. There might be some more people there that you know that you might be interested what their reply was. But I'm just going to go through a few of them. So the first one that I'm going to bring up is Angelina Jolie. So I think most people probably know who she is, a very famous actress. Has been in many Hollywood films. And she was asked, is there a God? Her response was this: for some people, I hope so for them. For the people who believe in it, I hope so. There doesn't need to be a God for me. There's something in people that's spiritual, that's godlike. I don't feel like doing things just because people say things. But I also don't really know if it's better to just not believe in anything either. So an interesting response. What is interesting is that more recently with this whole invasion of Ukraine that we've had, Angelina Jolie has actually posted on her Instagram that she's praying for the people of Ukraine. She's praying for Ukraine. Now again, a lot of people say my thoughts and prayers and I'm praying for this and that, and they're not necessarily believers. So maybe she just kind of used those terms, praying for, and she doesn't really mean it. Whether she's actually praying for them, I don't know, and praying for Ukraine. But here she says, first of all, it's very nice that she says she hopes there is a God for those who believe in God, but she also says there doesn't need to be a God for me, that I find quite interesting, because it's a strange answer to give, because it's like someone saying, well, I'm very happy now, I never needed my parents. Well, you did need your parents to be able to be happy, because if it wasn't for your parents coming together, you would not be here. So to say, I don't really need a God, you do, because you're here because there's a God. So in that sense, you need him. Now, you may have felt that in your life you haven't needed him because you've had a great life. I mean, she's rich, she's famous. But in terms of saying, I don't need there to be a God, well, you do, otherwise you wouldn't be here. So it's an odd thing to say, but she does then at the end of it say, I also don't really know if it's better to not believe in anything. So she's saying she doesn't feel she needs a God. She hopes there's a God for people who believe, but she's not sure if it's a good idea to not believe in anything. So it's kind of an interesting answer. I think the answer she gives, talking about she doesn't need there to be a God for her, is probably the same answer a lot of rich and famous people would give. They don't waste their time, so to speak, with God because they don't need him, because they're happy. And again, as I said, that doesn't make much sense because they do need him to be able to be happy in the first place, but they feel like in their life they've never really needed to pray, to go to a church or anything because they think they're happy. Maybe they are. So that's the first one. The second one I'm going to bring up is Seth Green. You may or may not know him. He is also an actor. He's appeared in a few things. I don't know if anyone's seen Austin Powers. He was basically the son of Dr. Evil in Austin Powers. Not a movie I would suggest you watch because there were quite a few crude sexual jokes in there, but when I was younger I did see it, and you may have seen it too. He was also in a TV series called Buffy the Vampire Slayer, for maybe some of the People here who aren't teenagers may have seen that, because that was quite popular back in its day. But he's basically an actor. You can look him up if you like. And this is what his response is to the question, is there a God? Is there a God? It really depends on what religion you subscribe to. Then the follow-up is, oh man, that's cheap. Everyone else was like, I don't know, maybe. And Seth Green says, God is to me pretty much an idea. God is to me pretty much a myth created over time to deny the idea that we're all responsible for our own actions. Now, the problem with this is that I don't know where Seth Green gets that idea from, that the reason people invented a God was so that they wouldn't have to be responsible for what they do. I don't know of any people who believe in God, nor do I know of any people who are Catholics or even from other religions who have made the claim that because there's a God, what they do doesn't really matter. They're not responsible for their own actions. Most believers in God do believe that what they do matters. They believe that God has given them free will and everything you do matters and has an effect on others. So to suggest that people have thought up God so they wouldn't have to feel responsible is a very naive way to look at it, really. If that's his reason why he thinks people believe in God, I don't think it's the correct reason. I'm yet to meet a person who's had that view. That, oh, I feel good because I believe in God and therefore it doesn't matter what I do. No, I believe in God and therefore it does matter what I do, is what most people think. So the next one is Pamela Hayden. The name might not ring a bell immediately, but she's actually the voice of Milhouse and Jimbo on The Simpsons. The Simpsons is a very popular cartoon. Not exactly a pro-Christian cartoon. They do like to mock Christianity a lot in it. But in this case, Pamela Hayden, who is the voice of two of the characters, responds to the question, is there a God? I think so. She then laughs, adopts the voice of Milhouse, that I can't do for you, I'm afraid, and says, and I think if I get beat up one more time, no. Pamela says yes, Milhouse says questionable. So the voice of Milhouse and Jimbo does believe in God. The person who does the voice of two of those, it seems she seems to think there is, or at least she's leaning to there being a God. So that's nice. The next one, and this one is interesting to me. This one really intrigues me. It's basically the response of a guy called Bill Maher. Now, you may have heard of Bill Maher, you may not have. He currently runs a show in the USA. If you're in the USA, you've probably heard of him, or you're more likely to have heard of him at least. He runs a show in the USA called Real Time with Bill Maher. I used to think his name was actually pronounced Bill Maher, but it's Maher apparently. And he honestly has been known really for being an atheist. I'm not saying that's what he identifies as. The first thing people think of when they think of Bill Maher is not he's an atheist. I think the first thing people think of when they think of Bill Maher, if they want to think of Bill Maher, is that he's very left-leaning, he's very liberal in his politics, and he makes that very clear in his show. But he was also asked, is there a God, in this thing that the AV Club... The AV Club also is known as The Onion. That's why you'll see the question, it's The Onion, but they're also known as the AV Club, or at least they're like sister websites or something, I don't know. He was asked this question, is there a God? Now, honestly, Bill Maher, from what I've seen of him, he's pretty much an atheist, as I've said. He did an interview with Barack Obama when he was the president and talked about there should be more rights for atheists and that atheists are discriminated. He actually received an award from the Atheist Alliance International Group and was handed the award by Richard Dawkins, who pretty much is known for being an atheist. That is the one thing that Richard Dawkins is known for, being an atheist. He also made a documentary, the only documentary he's ever made, called Religious, where he was basically mocking religion throughout the whole thing. So he's very much come across as an atheist. He was also, it says, on the advisory board of a project by Sam Harris called Project Reason, promoting secular values. So very much an atheist. And yet, when asked this question 20 years ago, is there a God? I would have expected Bill Maher to just say no, but he actually said the following. I think there is. We did a show last night about God and religion with Dave Foley, who I love, and we were arguing against this one woman who had a book called I Like Being Catholic. Someone said, oh boy, a lot of atheists on this panel. I said, I'm not an atheist. There's a really big difference between an atheist and someone who just doesn't believe in religion. Religion to me is a bureaucracy between man and God that I don't need. But I'm not an atheist, no. I believe there's some force. If you want to call it God, I don't believe God is a single parent who writes books. I think that the people who think God wrote a book called the Bible are just childish. Religion is so childish. What they're fighting about in the Middle East, it's so childish. These myths, these silly little stories that they believe in fundamentally, that they take over this little space in Jerusalem where one guy flew up to heaven. No. This guy performed a sacrifice here 1,000 million years ago. It's like, who cares? What does that have to do with spirituality? Where you're really trying to get as a human being and as a soul moving in the universe. But I do believe in God, yes. So there's Bill Maher, 20 years ago, asked the question, is there a God? He pretty much says yes. But then he criticizes religion and mocks Christianity in particular and the Bible. I'm not sure he still has that view. It would be interesting if somebody asked him that now. What do you make of these comments you made 20 years ago? Here in these comments, he specifically says, I'm not an atheist, but I am against religion, essentially. Now, I felt like from what I've seen from him in recent years, he has pretty much identified as an atheist. So I don't know if his views have changed and moved more to atheism. It's difficult to say, but I find this intriguing because honestly, when I saw that they asked him the question, the first thing I thought was he's going to say no, and he's just going to explain why he doesn't. But he said yes, and then he explained why he did, but he doesn't like religion. So that's Bill Maher's response for you. And I have one more to show you. And it's the response of Michael Moore. You may again have heard of Michael Moore. He's quite famous in the USA. In fact, I think all the people I've brought up are from the USA. I've just realized. A documentary filmmaker and a Catholic. So you'd expect him to say yes when asked the question if he believes in God. And he did. Is there a God? Yes, there is, says Michael Moore. I don't know how you define that, but yeah, I'm a Catholic. I believe in God. I don't believe in a lot of what the Catholic Church believes in, but... And then it seems to just stop there. That's an expected answer from Michael Moore because he said that before, that he disagrees a lot with some of the things the church says. He disagrees with them on gay marriage. He disagrees with them on abortion. But he considers himself a Catholic, like some of the other Catholics that are well-known, very left-leaning, who also disagree with a lot of what the church teaches, but say they're Catholic. And that's it. Those are the 5 that I wanted to show you. And now I'm going to move on to my announcement. By the way, again, if you want to see many other responses from famous people, the 2 articles that I got these from are in the description below the video. Take a look at those if you want. Here's the announcement I want to make. So in about a week and a half from the day this video is published, I will be doing an interview with an exorcist priest that I'm very excited about. And I have some questions that I want to ask him, but I also want to throw it out to my viewers. If any of you have any questions for this exorcist priest that you think might be interesting to ask, something that maybe you've thought about for a while but never got the chance to ask an exorcist priest, please do send me an email with that question. The email will be right here now. Or if you like, you can also put it in the comments section. I'm not guaranteeing I will ask the questions, particularly if I get a lot of them, but certainly I will take a look at them and may include them in the interview that I do. So that's that. If you are watching this video sometime within the 10 days after it's been published, there's still time to get a question in. If you have a question, please put it through and I will take a look at it. And that's it, everyone. Thank you very much for watching. See you again soon.